أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وسندنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله إلى الناس كافة بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعص الله ورسوله فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون وقال الله تعالى وإذ بوأنا لإبراهيم مكان البيت ألا تشرك بي شيئا وطهر بيتي للطائفين والقائمين والركع السجود وأذن في الناس بالحج يأتوك رجالا وعلى كل ضامر يأتين من كل فج عميق صدق الله العظيم. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking Allah's blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We are fast approaching Hajj. Many of our brothers and sisters from our communities, possibly our friends and family members overseas, are undertaking this great journey, a monumental journey, which is known as Hajj. One of the 5 pillars of Islam, one of the obligations that Allah Ta'ala has ordained upon humans, upon man. Now, the obligation of Hajj, the ulama have discussed this issue regarding whether a person must go at the first opportunity when all the requirements are met, financial, physical, so on and so forth, or whether one is able to delay the Hajj. And most of the ulama are of the opinion that once the requirements are met, a person is financially, physically able to go for Hajj, and all other arrangements are in place, they mustn't delay the Hajj. And this is based upon the Prophet ﷺ statement where he said that whoever has the opportunity to go for Hajj and he doesn't do so, then Allah doesn't care what state he dies in. This is a grave warning the hadith has mentioned. But when you reflect and you think, why such a grave and harsh, stern warning for a person who neglects his Hajj? Think about it. What is Hajj? Hajj is an invitation to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hajj is an invitation to Allah's house where one is fortunate enough to be invited by the best of hosts. When he has the opportunity to take this journey and he doesn't do so, he neglects it, he postpones it, then it's as if he's rejected Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's invitation. If you're rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's invitation, then that's a very dangerous stance or a very dangerous position for a person. Allah Ta'ala commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam after building the Ka'batullah to announce Hajj. Announce it to the people. وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. So when we respond by saying labbaik after donning the ihram, this is an inauguration and a commencement of the rituals that are practiced that Ibrahim alayhi salam showed us. And it was the millah and the custom and the traditions of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the revival of those traditions for which Allah Ta'ala sent the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And one of the most significant, if not the most significant feature and hallmark of Ibrahim alayhi salam's tradition and millah Ibrahimi was tawheed and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in today's khutbah, inshallah, we're going to very briefly explore through some of the reflections on Hajj, how important the Ka'batullah is, how the Ka'batullah symbolizes tawheed and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its significance, and how we can build the Kaaba in our community. Don't get scared. I'm not calling for another Kaaba. I'm speaking about the spirit of the Kaaba. So these are important lessons for us. Ibrahim alayhi salam is a very important personality. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions him frequently in the Quran. In fact, if you look at the Abrahamic traditions that are known as Abrahamic traditions, of course, they all align or link themselves to Ibrahim alayhi salam. He's the archetypal figure in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi hanifa. Indeed, Ibrahim was an ummah, a one man, one nation in himself. And Allah describes one of his qualities as Hanif. And this quality of his is found frequently in the Quran. In fact, the word Hanif and the plural Hunafa has also been mentioned in Al-Bayyinah, Surah Al-Bayyinah. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهِ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ حُنَفَاءَ وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ. Hanif comes from the term Hanafa. And Hanafa means to be inclined towards one thing only, and to avoid all distractions. In this context, we're speaking about Ibrahim alayhi salam's focus on Allah's worship alone, in the belief in Allah's greatness alone, in Allah's magnificence, qudra, power, ilm, knowledge alone, and not to assign any of that understanding or any of that belief to any creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he had observed in his community the wrongs, the ills of people swaying or swerving away from Tawheed, from Allah Ta'ala's oneness and His ibadah and monotheism, which is an extremely important concept which the entire world is based on this. So Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is calling the people towards their origins, because originally the fitrah and the disposition Allah has given every human being, our innate quality, is to recognize the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was calling the people back towards this innate quality of this disposition, this fitrah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And the Quran shares some very interesting stories, and it's really important for us to focus on the message that is delivered within the stories to learn lessons, so we can extract very important lessons for our lives. The story of Ibrahim alayhi salam as a child, when he's observing and witnessing different creations of Allah like the stars and the sun and the moon, and he's making all of these statements and conclusions based on their size and their brightness, that perhaps this could be God, the star could be God, perhaps the sun could be God, perhaps the moon is God. In this context, he mentions something that is absolutely profound. And this is the basis of Islam. When we look at this concept, he says, فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. He says, when the night dawned upon Ibrahim alayhi salam, he saw a star. When he saw the star, he said, perhaps this is my Lord. But when the star disappeared, he said, I don't love those who disappear. I don't attach myself with those who disappear. And this is the crux of the matter, my dear respected brothers and sisters. Everything we see around us will vanish, will perish, will come to an end. We came from non-existence to existence. We weren't eternally existing. It wasn't in our nature to exist forever. And the only one who is pre-existing, pre-eternal, or pre-existing and will always remain is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always. فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. So Hajj is a journey that brings us to this realization of Tawheed. And you may ask how? When we look at Hajj and we reflect upon the rituals that are performed, there's many lessons to learn. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah mentions so many of them, and they're very profound, and I always like to repeat them. It's a good lesson. He says, for example, when we wear the ihram, it's like we are being shrouded in our kafan before we die, or when we die. Not before, but after we die. Subhanallah, what a reminder. A person's wearing his ihram, preparing for this ultimate journey, and it's reminding him that you will also journey from this world into barzakh, into another time, another place. And that's a reality that every single human being will face. And no human being in history has ever escaped this reality. Then when your family see you off at the airport, or they see you off at the border of the city, then it's like the family that is dropping you into your grave and visiting the graveyard to drop you off for the last time. Then when you're going on your vehicle, like your plane or whatever you're traveling on, this symbolizes the bier or the coffin that you're carried on. Then of course symbolism of those places, the manafi' Allah mentions in Al-Hajj, لِيَشْهَدُوا مَنَافِعَ لَهُمْ. Hajj has been ordained on the people so they can witness places of benefit for them. Spiritual benefits, and historically there was also economic benefits for people that used to go for the Hajj, and it was a season, it was known as Mosim. People would go there and they would also trade and so on and so forth. But the spiritual benefits is what we want to reflect upon. When we go for Hajj, we are visiting the Ka'batullah. Now of course, we were not created to worship the Kaaba. We were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Kaaba is a direction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained that we face in our prayer. It's not the object of worship. The object of worship is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is always going to be the object of worship. I mean, we worship Allah, we don't worship the Kaaba. However, some people are mistaken and they feel that perhaps Muslims are worshipping the Kaaba or even worshipping the black stone, despite the fact that they call against or call out idolatry or they oppose idolatry. And one such objection was raised during the time of one of the founders of Darul Ulum Deoband, Maulana Qasim Nanotwi rahimahullah. Maulana Qasim Nanotwi was a master theologian, and he challenged the Pandit who raised this objection to a debate. And he said that if you are truthful in your claim, come, let's debate publicly. He went to the town of the Pandit. The Pandit didn't come out of his house 15 days approximately. The Maulana returned and he wrote a book called Qibla Numa. And in this book, it's a very lengthy book, and he goes into the philosophy of why we face the Qibla in our prayer. We know that historically there's been a shift in the Qibla. When Rasulullah moved to Medina Munawwara, Muslims were facing Jerusalem for approximately 16-17 months. Allah mentions this in Al-Baqarah as well. And it was always the Prophet ﷺ's desire that the Qibla changed to Makkah Mukarramah. Allah also mentions this in the Quran because of the significance of Makkah and the place that Makkah had in the hearts of the Muhajirun and also Rasulullah ﷺ. But the question still arises, why are we as Muslims commanded to face the Qibla in our prayer? And what lesson does that teach us? And how is that then connected to the Hajj, as I was mentioning at the beginning of the khutbah? It's a very interesting question. We know that Allah created us for His worship. And there is nothing better than the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something that our bodies need and crave, our minds and souls need. Without worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our hearts become dead, spiritually dead. Without the heart knowing Allah, there's no difference between a human and an animal. That's the reality. Because what makes us different is the spiritual heart that Allah has created. That is what makes us different from other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that we have a spiritual heart through which we recognize our Creator and our Lord and we worship Him. So man has been commanded by Allah to face the Qibla. Why is he commanded to face the Qibla? This could be a controversial matter. It could have been a controversial matter just like moon sighting is a controversial matter, right? It could have been a controversial matter. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the entire ummah to be focused in one direction, because we're bound by Tawheed, and Tawheed is the only thing that is worth being bound by. If we look around us today in the world, we see different groups of people that are bound by different things. Some people are bound by color. So they think, okay, anybody who shares the same color as me, I am with them and they are with me. Anybody who speaks the same language as me, I am with them, they are with me. We are bound by different things, and many of the things that we are bound by are constructs that we have created as humans. Man-made constructs. So the divisions that we have, you're American and you're Canadian and you're Pakistani and you're Indian, you're Bengali, you're this, you're that. These are all constructs that we made as humans. And none of the things that we hold valuable, like color and language, are necessarily things that are worth binding us together, or things that are worth being bound by. None of these things are necessarily important to your identity as a person. You're not defined by your skin color, and you're not defined by the language that you speak. I'm not defined by the fact that my parents hail from India and I was born. Yes, my society can affect me and influence me in some ways, and we can be socially conditioned by our environmental factors, no doubt about that. But inherently, being Indian or being white or being black doesn't mean anything in that sense. Inherently, being born with the language of Gujarati or Punjabi, it doesn't really matter. None of these things are worth being bound by or tied by. It's not worth being tied by these things together. The only thing that is eternal, everlasting, will never end is the tawheed and the oneness of Allah. And that's the only thing that's worth being tied by and being bound by. So the one thing that binds us together is tawheed. The fact that I'm sitting in this masjid and I'm looking at so many different faces of different colors, and I'm sure many different languages are spoken within this same room, what ties us together and binds us together? Not our ethnic background, not our language, it's our belief in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when man is bound by one thing which is great, eternal, everlasting, like tawheed and oneness of Allah, Allah wants us to focus in our ibadah and worship towards tawheed, Allah alone. So there is a wahdah and there's a unity in our qibla as well. So the unity in qibla teaches us about unity in Allah Ta'ala, or Allah Ta'ala's oneness and His tawheed. Otherwise, if Allah had assigned this responsibility to man, you determine the direction of your qibla, then of course, the Indians would have India, the Brits would have Buckingham Palace. I don't know if we'd have the White House here. I'm not sure if anybody would be fond. Allah knows best. So the point that we're making here is that every nation would then choose their own qibla. Allah did not intend for that. Allah wanted all of mankind to recognize that you are bound by tawheed, Allah's oneness, and the demonstration of that is you're collectively facing the qibla in your prayer. So your hearts are collectively united on this concept of tawheed. So when we're standing in front of Allah in prayer, who cares about the brother next to you being of a different color or a different background? What does that mean? You're bound by tawheed, and that's the most important thing. And this is what we want to bring back into our communities, the spirit of the Ka'batullah. Because in the Quran, Allah calls the Ka'batullah mathabatan linnasi wa amna, a place where people return continuously and a place of security. So we have to ask ourselves the question, our masajid, our Islamic centers, our spaces that we have created, are these inviting places? Are these places that are open for everybody? Does everybody have the same religious experience and spiritual experience when they enter the four walls of this masjid? What sort of feeling do they leave with? Or does the masjid only cater to the predominant population or ethnic population within the masjid? These are very important questions we have to ask ourselves. I want to share with you a study one of my friends conducted when he embraced Islam. He embraced Islam in the 90s. He's a very, very successful physician. Actually, he works in influence and persuasion now, and for MedStar. And he said to me that when he conducted a social experiment when he became Muslim. I wanted to see how people react when I enter the masjid. He's Caucasian, and he came the first day and he's wearing a thawb. So all the Middle Eastern brothers in the masjid thought, mashallah, new brother, thawb. So they thought he's Middle Eastern. So they went to greet him, mashallah, assalamu alaikum, akhi, kayf al-hal. He said, sorry, I don't understand Arabic. Oh, okay. The next day he decided, I'm going to walk in with shalwar qamis. Because he's light skinned. Everybody thought Pathan, perhaps. Kashmiri, maybe. So they went up to him, assalamu alaikum. Kaise hai bhai? Khairat se? He said, I don't understand a word of what you're saying. Okay, great. Third day, he walks in, maybe it was a few days later, he walks in wearing regular clothes. Do you know what? Nobody went to greet him. It's not funny anymore, is it? Not one person came to greet him. So what does that mean for us as a community? If this brother came to the masjid, first time, never been greeted by anybody, nobody cares for his needs, nobody asked him where he's from, nobody asked him what his needs are, or just making small talk with him. familiarizing yourself with them. And this is the same experience so many sisters and brothers are having in our masajid, especially those who are coming to Islam. They're coming to the masjid, and it's not deliberate. I don't want to say that the Muslim community that are born Muslims, and I don't want to say play the blame card. Many a times we're just not aware, or we think, we have our own small cliques in the masjid. So if I'm from one particular part of the world, and that's my clique, I greet them after salah, I hang out with them in the rotunda, and have the shurak conversations that the masajid love having. The shurak conversations are the biggest fitna in the masajid, by the way. Shurak conversations and parking lot conversations. Okay? These are big fitan, okay? The shurak conversations. Because we like to discuss what's going on in the masjid and with this person and that person. And that's a fitna. It's a great fitna. So people are having these negative experiences when they come to the masjid. We need to bring back the spirit of the Ka'batullah. Allah called it mathabatan linnas, a place where people like to return again and again. Their hearts are attracted to it. So building that environment, that culture within the masjid is an extremely important mission for us as Muslims, to make sure nobody feels alienated, nobody feels miscommunicated or excommunicated, and nobody feels like there's no love here. So we have to bring that love back in our communities, inshallah. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the tawfiq. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Qur'an al-azim. Wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-hakim. Innahu ta'ala jawadun kareemun malikun barrun ra'ufur rahim. Fastaghfiruhu innahu wal ghafur rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. By the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many of us enjoy a very pleasant life here. And the reality is that many of us who came here in pursuit of a better life. And the Bill of Rights promised this to everybody. Right? Now, of course, within us we have indigenous Muslims as well, who have been here for a long time. And we also have immigrant Muslims too. And many of us were sold by the American dream, the nice cars, the white picket fence. And we came here, many people, they worked hard, alhamdulillah, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they earned a great living, and they're living very comfortable lives. And mashallah, that's great. But the reality is that we are living the American dream for ourselves and not for others. So we're realizing the American dreams for ourselves, but what did we do for our communities around us? Allah did not intend for us to be isolated. Allah intended for us to live among communities. Now, one of the greatest things that a community can have is peace, security, and justice. And it's a very interesting time in our country, and it has been for a few years now, where we feel that perhaps there may be a possibility that Muslims are being shortchanged, or that Muslims are not given justice or receiving justice in some of their issues. And we know that there's cases that have been documented throughout the last many years, and we know about that. What we as Muslims must do is think first and foremost that why is it Muslims can be treated like this in the first place? This is the biggest question. And it's a khutbah topic or it's a workshop topic for another time. But I want you to think about this. I'm just going to share 1 or 2 minutes. Why is it that Muslims are being treated like this? There are other ethnic groups that are perhaps even smaller in number that do not get treated the way that Muslims are being treated. So it really requires us to think as to why Muslims are being treated like this. Because if you look at the Muslim community, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have high earners, high achievers. We form like the fabric of society. But we're not at the table. We're on the menu. We're not at the table. We're not sitting there. So, yes, we've invested a lot in this country too. And we're really part of this country and society. There's absolutely no doubt. Especially the indigenous Muslims that are born and raised here. This is their home as well. But many of us came here to make this our home. And to live that American dream. And we had children here that are born and raised here. And this is their land. It's really important that we focus on the position of Muslims in this country and work towards strengthening their position, whether it's institutionally, legally, education-wise, financially. There are so many ways and so many things that we need to do as a community to build our ummah, to raise them, and to make them strong and powerful enough, where they are at the table. And one such avenue for this is justice, law, civil rights. Alhamdulillah, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are fortunate to have an organization like the Muslim Legal Fund of America. I was talking to Brother Khalil before the Salah, and the progress that has been made by the Muslim Legal Fund of America in the last 4 years, 5 years, alhamdulillah, is, subhanAllah, it's amazing, tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And it's so visionary. That's what I love about it. The points that were shared and the progress that has been made. Now Muslim Legal Fund of America funding a non-profit law firm. And Muslim Legal Fund of America becoming the Muslim equivalent of ACLU. This is very important. Sometimes we think about these sort of things and we think, well, it doesn't really concern me, you know, I'm okay, I'm comfortable, alhamdulillah, I've been here 40 years, 30 years, never had any legal issues, my papers are fine, I'm a citizen, my kids are born and raised here. What care do I have for the refugees and people that are caught up in small crimes? What care do I have for them? The issue is that today it was someone else, tomorrow it could be you. And this is the reality. We know that there are brothers that have been wrongly incarcerated. We know that people have been pulled up. There's racial profiling. So many different cases. And for us to have that type of attitude is a very selfish attitude. To think that, you know, it doesn't really concern me. So what I want to do, I don't want to take too much time because the khutbah is going to end. But we have Brother Khalil here on behalf of MLFA. After the salah, please give him 5 minutes of your time. That's the least he deserves that from you. Give him 5 minutes of your time. He's concerned about your civil rights and my civil rights. That is so important. Just think about that. If you had any issue, you have an organization that you could reach out to that understands your culture and your background and your faith, that can help you and guide you, fight your cases for you. This is such an important mission. And social justice was very important for the Prophet ﷺ. Hilful Fudul is the best reminder. The pact that Rasulullah ﷺ made, the pact of virtue, before his nubuwah, when As bin Wa'il has seized the goods of a trader from Yemen in Makkah Mukarramah, and nobody was giving his rights, the Prophet ﷺ with a group of young men formed a pact to bring justice to anyone in this town who needs justice. And Allah is adl, and He commands adl. And He says that do not let your hostility towards one qawm and one nation make you unjust. Even in circumstances like that, against your own parents, if you have to be just, you have to be just. Your brothers, your sisters. Justice is that important. Justice is that important. So I want all of us to take this mission very importantly, this project, this organization, because this is going to be it's going to be at the forefront, a leading organization for the Muslim community. And I want you, inshallah, to spend a couple of minutes after the khutbah and listen to what Brother Khalil has to say. It will be very beneficial for us. Jazakallahu khairan. اللهم اغفر لجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم ودعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. قيموا الصلاة.
أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا اعتدلوا. Straighten your rows, fill in the gaps. Allahu Akbar. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. As mentioned in the khutbah, inshallah, Brother Khalil will be sharing a few words. Please listen attentively.
Bismillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa salam. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalil Meek. Most of you know me. I'm one of the founders and the current executive director of the Muslim Legal Fund, a charity founded here in Dallas, Texas in 2000.